All right, guys, welcome back to Bros Talk Everything, episode 4. It's our Friday special, and we have another guest episode on. He's Cuban, and he's Puerto Rican, and he's.
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me on the show, Tony.
So, thank you for being on the show today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself for the people that don't know?
Yeah. Um, my name is Jordani Malachi Ledesma. Most of you might know me as Malachi, and some of you might know me as Jordani. I'm Cuban and Puerto Rican, like Tony said, and I do swimming.
All right, guys, so as always, we start with scripture reading. I've been reading from Acts 9, but today I'm going to change it a little bit differently and read from Matthew 20. So Matthew 20 has the parable of the vineyard workers, where it said the kingdom of heaven is like the landowner who went out one early morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay the normal daily wage and sent them out to work. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he was passing through the marketplace and saw people sitting around doing nothing, so he hired them, telling them he would pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. So they went to work in the vineyard at noon and again at 3 o'clock, and he did the same thing. And so this vineyard owner, this landowner, hires a group of people to work for him on early morning. This would be like the time where they would normally like go into work and do the same thing, but again, it's a parable, so they're a little bit different. And it says at 5 o'clock that afternoon, he was in town again and saw some more people sitting around and asked them, "Why haven't you been working today?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." The landowner told them, "Then go out and join the others in my vineyard." And so when he called the workers to get their hourly wage, it says when those first hired came to get their pay, they assumed they would receive more, but they too were paid a day's wage. When they received their pay, they protested to the owner, "These people only worked 1 hour, and yet you've paid them just as much as you've paid us who worked all day in the scorching heat." So again, as Jesus' parables are always about a real item or the kingdom of heaven, this parable is too. And when I read it, I think of us sometimes. Like how I interpret this passage is just that young believers that are saved young versus believers that get saved on the deathbed, or the person that was on the cross next to him, like when he was about to die on Jesus, and get saved like in the last part of their lives. And it's saying we both receive salvation at the end of the day. We both receive eternal happiness, eternal joy, eternal salvation. But other people have been living by the flesh their entire lives, and like since we're young Christian believers, our entire lives we've been going through these fiery trials and fiery challenges. But I don't think that we're looking at it the right way, because we're looking at it as if still we earned it, but we still haven't earned anything, because everything we get is from Jesus Christ. We don't deserve it just as much as the people later in life don't deserve it. It's not something that, well, we've gone through more fiery trials. That is true, but that's not why we receive salvation. That's not why we receive anything. It's because Jesus died on the cross for our sins.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I actually have something like to expand on the Matthew 20. It's the parable of the prodigal son, and I feel like it's kind of similar, where this father gives his inheritance to his son, and the son just goes out gambling, spending money, hanging out with girls, and eventually the son just ends up jobless, or he has a job, but he's getting paid nothing and he's not eating anything. And it gets to the point where the prodigal son is saying, it's better for me to be working as a servant for my father than to be here. So he comes back thinking that his dad's going to be angry, and the father actually embraces him and throws a party for him. And I believe they slaughter a lamb or a goat or some kind of animal. They slaughter an animal for him and they have a party. But then the other brother is angry about it. He's saying, "Well, I've been doing the right thing this whole time. Why am I not getting a party? Why are you doing all this for him? He's been doing the wrong thing. He just came back." And the father is basically saying that we should be happy for him because he found his way. And I feel like that's kind of similar with the vineyard. We get the same reward, salvation, and to be in heaven, and we shouldn't be angry that the new people get to be there and they get the parties, but we should be happy that we're all together again, you know?
So Malachi, you also brought on scripture today, right?
Yeah, I did. I brought out Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11 is it's called the righteous reign of the branch. And I won't read the entire thing. I mean, it's only like 16 verses, but I'll just read like the important parts. Basically, this is a prophecy that Isaiah is saying. It's a prophecy about the coming Messiah, which does end up to be Jesus. So in verse 1, it says, "There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse." This is important because Jesse is the father of King David. Okay? And then it says, "A branch from Jesse's stump comes forth the roots and shall bear fruit." So what it's saying is that from this like tree of Jesse, there's branches like David and Solomon and the entire lineage, and then there will be one who will bear fruit, and that one does end up to be Jesus Christ. And we can see later in the verse or the chapter, I mean, it says, "With righteousness he shall judge the poor and decide with equity for the meek of the earth." It also says that righteousness shall be dealt in the belt of his waist. It also says he'll strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. This is all talking about the Messiah that ends up becoming Jesus Christ from the lineage of David.
Like what's crazy to me about that is that in Isaiah in the Old Testament, it's prophesying Jesus Christ. You
Yeah.
know, it's like there's people say that no, or the Jews like in particular say no, like Jesus Christ is this, Jesus Christ is that. But in the Old Testament, it was prophesied.
Yeah, I mean, this is Isaiah's writing this 700 years before Jesus is born. And even in other prophecies that he has, let me find something. Oh, in Isaiah 9, right here, it talks about the "for unto us a child will be born," and it literally calls out like exactly what Jesus ends up being, what Jesus ends up becoming. And even in other Isaiah chapters, it talks about him being born of a virgin, which is exactly what we see with the Virgin Mary later in the New Testament.
So Malachi, we see the Puerto Rico flag and the Cuban flag in the back. What like how's that shaped your life like growing up?
Well, I wasn't like born in Puerto Rico and Cuba. That was my parents. My dad's Cuban and my mom's Puerto Rican, but I was born in Miami, Florida.
Isn't Miami like a big city in Florida? How does that like compare to living in a small town in Georgia?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, Miami is probably the busiest city like in Florida and probably one of the busiest in the United States, I'd even say. I remember living there. I was a kid, but I remember living there and I remember it being busy. I loved it over there. Um, so many people you get to meet and stuff, and I had like a lot of friends over there and stuff. But we moved here to Georgia. I was probably like 5, I think. Um, it's still for some reason like I still have to get used to it. It's a lot different being from like Miami and then moving here in Georgia. There's a lot less people. It's a lot more quiet and there's a lot of like nature and stuff which you don't really get to see in Florida. And the culture here is definitely a lot different than in Florida. In Florida, there's a lot more Hispanic people, so I get to share that culture with them. But here in Georgia, it's a little bit more difficult because there's not as many Hispanics, and um, I still try to share it with people. Like I try to share it with my friends and stuff. It's just a little bit harder.
Yeah. You know, so since moving to Georgia, what's like helped you like the most, like being able to do?
Um, You're saying like what's helped me, get used to it here? That's what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Uh,
Um, Probably like sports. My first sport here was swimming. I love swimming. I mean, I've done it since sixth grade, so it's been like what, like 5 or 6 years of me doing it already. It's one of my favorite sports. It's probably my main.
so you think like swimming has like helped you like get used to it the most, like since moving to Georgia?
Yeah, definitely. It built like a community of people that like I could talk to, and teams are usually more they stick more together, so it definitely helped me with that.
So we're at the question segment where we're gonna ask a few different questions, but first off is the rapid fire questions. So Lucas couldn't get it last time, but you'll have 1 minute to answer 9 questions as fast as you can in under a minute. Are you ready?
Okay, I got you.
All right, ready? This timer starts in three, two, one. What is your favorite food?
Tacos.
What is your favorite song?
Come and get your love.
Favorite movie?
Interstellar, Interstellar.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate. I don't care if it's basic. Chocolate.
Favorite chapter in the Bible?
Oh, freak. John. Where's John? John 10. John 10.
Go to fast food place.
Chick-fil-A.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi. I don't care.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Favorite baseball team?
The Braves. That's easy.
I think we got under a minute there. I'm gonna have
Let's
to check
go.
it, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure we got under a minute there. All right, so now is our would you rather questions. And so for the first one, would you rather be able to fly at any time, just like Superman, or would you rather be able to teleport anywhere in the world at will, but it has an hour cooldown?
How fast am I flying?
Uh, let's say about as fast as a fighter jet, so like 1500.
Okay. Okay. I think I take the teleporting with the 1 hour break, cause like that means like I won't use it for stupid stuff, cause then I'll get just stuck there for an hour. But like if I want to go to like Japan, I can stay there and then just dip.
So for the second, would you rather be able to play any instrument, perfect mastery, perfect like you can play it perfectly, or would you rather choose 5 languages and know them all like perfectly fluent in them?
I think I'm taking the languages. I'd choose. So okay, five other languages I'd choose. I'd choose French. I'd choose Portuguese. I'd choose Italian because they're all like similar. Uh, I think I'd choose Japanese because that's pretty cool.
Mm.
And then I think I'd choose. I think I go Mandarin because that one's the most difficult, and that'd be
Yeah.
cool. Cool flex.
All right. So for the final question, an open-ended question. So if you had to choose an Avenger from the entire franchise, the entire like timeline, I guess you'd say, to be in the MCU, the Avengers, which one would you choose? Who would you choose?
Okay, we're talking like the original six Avengers. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I work at the movie theater, so we actually talk about this like a lot for some reason. But I think I'd choose Thor. I think I'd be Thor. He's a god. I know he went through a lot of trauma, but you know what? I get to basically live forever, and I have lightning, and I have a cool hammer that comes to me whenever I call for it. So I think, I think it's a good trade-off.
So for once, we actually do have current events to talk about, and it is in the United States. It is a federal court case against Sean Diddy Combs. What was it like? 2 out of the 5 charges came back guilty.
Yeah, yeah. He only got 2 of the 5 charges, and it was only for like it wasn't even trafficking. I think it was like only prostitution or something. And he might not even face jail time, which is actually insane to me. This guy's lawyer quit. His lawyer quit. I think that says something about him, that he is not innocent. That he is that guilty, that his lawyer had to quit because his lawyer's like, nah, this is too much for me kind of thing. And 5 charges, I feel like it's too little. I feel like this man has committed like 50. This guy is not, there's no way he's not facing jail time. And I'm actually angry about it because he's getting away with nothing.
Yeah, they like have videos of like every single thing, like the parties, the everything, and they're just gonna let him go just like that.
People have come out saying it and come out saying like, oh, this guy, like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was in in the Diddy parties. Like, these people have come out saying this person's in the parties, this person's in the parties. Diddy visited Epstein's island. And he's not facing any repercussion for it.
Yeah, I guess that's what like being rich and like being wealthy does for people nowadays.
Literally, literally. It's actually annoying that they can get away with this stuff.
All right, so wrapping up, we don't really get to talk about sports much this episode because next week we have a few guests on. It's going to be very, very sports heavy, so we're going to leave off here with this. But there's one thing we have to talk about, one very, very sad event that happened that included a player passing away.
Oh, are you talking about the Diogo Jota death or whatever?
The Liverpool and Portugal national team player that passed away in a car crash. We send our condolences and very sad for him. Neither me or Malachi are soccer players, so we can't really give our in-depth analysis, or not analysis, but like we don't really exactly know who he is. But we're very sorry that's happened, and sorry to any like Liverpool fans that are watching this.
Yeah, I mean, just keep him in your prayers or keep the family in your prayers. Hope they do okay and stuff.
So Malachi, it's been a good time having you on. Thank you for being on here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been actually kind of fun, this podcast.
Yeah, so thank you for being our second star episode. And we got 2 more episodes coming to y'all next week. Remember to stay healthy, stay safe, remember God in everything, and remember, keep God first.